Last year, I was consuming content about marketing, and while doing that, I realized that there is some lessons and interesting ideas that we can take from this field and apply them to our lives, especially when it comes to our relationships and how we treat ourselves and how we think, because this field is based on psychology and understanding human behavior in order to make and push people to choose a product over another and influence their behavior and make people take irrational decisions. And this is something that we see a lot on social media in real life, where you just get shocked and you're like, why do people act like this over a product and lose their minds over it? And today I want to discuss that and share some insights that are inspired from marketing so you can apply them to your life and understand more the psychology of people and even encourage you to go learn more about this field. Why not? And one of the ideas that I want to discuss is there is this thing in marketing where if you want to make people fall in love with the product and make them choose it and pay attention to it, you have to move their feelings towards it and create a world around the product by creating a compelling story that will resonate with people to create an emotional attachment to it. So when they are gonna go to the mall or scroll online and they see it, they will choose it over another product, even if there is better options out there because of those positive connections and memories that are attached with it. It is not enough to just have pretty visuals. Of course, they're gonna make people pay attention to it, but that attention will fade quickly and they will move on to something else because they have no emotional attachment to it and they don't care about it. And the reason I am explaining this is because there is some people who base their worth on being pretty and they think it is enough to make people care for them in the long term, and they don't take some time to develop a personality and have an energy that will make people want to be around them and develop some memories together that will make the person attached to them, not only based on their looks but because of their personality. And by the way, I am not saying to not take care of your looks and they are irrelevant. I am not saying that, because the first thing that make people make a judgment about you is your looks. So take care of your looks, but do not obsess too much over it where you base your whole personality around it and you don't develop some traits that will make people really drawn to you. Being pretty, it will get you some opportunities and make some people interested in talking to you because you are pretty, but the interest will die away when they find the next beautiful person to talk to. It is like a beautiful product you see on a shelf, you like it, but when you see another product that is more beautiful, you quickly turn your head and ignore the other one because you did not spend some time to develop an emotional connection with the product where you discover its features and build familiarity with it and some positive memories. For example, when I started using my iPhone at the beginning, I was drawn to it because of how it looks, but I stayed because of its utility and the memories I have with it. And I know this is gonna sound stupid for some people, especially the memories part, but we all have some memories attached with our favorite products. The iPhone, for example, I have so many positive memories with it where now if I want to buy another phone, I will choose it. But imagine if the iPhone was only pretty products that doesn't make me feel anything when I see it. I would have thrown it away and bought, I don't know, like a Samsung or another brand. And this is the same thing for pretty people who only base their worth on looking pretty. Deep down, they know that the relationships they have are shallow and not deep enough, and people will leave any moment, and they always have the anxiety of being left and abandoned for another person who is more prettier, and they start objectifying themselves more, and they think if they look and become more prettier, they will not be abandoned, and they completely miss the point and they don't realize it will never work. Emotional attachment and connection is what make people stay, and even you can see that being the case in toxic relationships. A lot of people in these relationships do not leave and find it hard to say goodbye and move on is because of this emotional connection that they have of this person and this image they built about them that is stopping them from moving on to another relationship even though there is better options out there for them. I know some some of you are offended and will tell me that people are not products, and why am I making a comparison between them? And I agree, people are not products, but I am just here explaining the psychology behind what makes us get attached to something or someone and pay attention to it and give it some value in our lives. And even now, we live in a society where there are some people who give way more attention and love to products than actually going outside and develop a connection with others and nurture those relationships, because marketing understood the importance of building that connection and familiarity and story to make people care. That is why you see brands building an aesthetic and a world and a culture and an experience around their products to look you in. And you can use that to ask yourself what kind of experience that you want people who are close to you to have when they are around you. And they will remember you by that. People will remember what you did for them and not the outfit that you wore twice in a week. Just sit down and remember the people who influenced you positively or negatively. You remember the acts they did and the way they made you feel when you were around them. So stop objectifying yourself by thinking that the only thing you can offer in relationships is being pretty. People being interested in you just because you are pretty is an offense, because it is a signal that they are not really interested in you. And this brings me to another idea that I want to discuss, which is positioning. And in marketing, it is used to influence the perception that people have regarding a brand and have an image that people remember when they think about it. And let's take again the example of Apple. This brand is positioning itself as a luxury brand, and they show you that through their actions. The CEO of Apple doesn't say we are a luxury brand and then go and have a cheap price attached to their devices. The image they want people to have of them is influenced by their actions, by having a high price, having a good customer experience when you enter their store, and the minimalistic packaging they offer, etc. etc. And when you ask someone about this brand, they will say expensive, minimalistic, but if they hate it, they will say it is trash. And the reason I am saying this is because the way you position yourself and act will somehow influence how people perceive you and act around you. I see people online saying you can't control how people perceive you, and I agree with that statement to an extent. I personally believe you can control 50 to 60% of how people perceive you through your actions. Of course, you can't have 100% control because there is some other factors that also influence how people perceive you and act, like their beliefs, their past, their character, etc. etc. And to explain my idea, I have three examples that will help you to understand more. For example, if you position yourself as a reliable person and your actions back it up, some people will perceive you as a reliable person and they will trust you. Also, another example that I did notice in my life where I was positioning myself as this perfect girl who has her life together all the time, even though that wasn't the case at all, because I am a human being too who have bad periods. But anyway, when I was positioning myself like that and I was constantly showing to people around me that I am mentally tough all the time and I don't get affected by things and I don't need anyone's help and I wasn't willing to be vulnerable, people around me started having that image too about me, even though it wasn't true, and they started treating me as this perfect girl who has all the answers. So if we have a problem, let's go and dump all of our problems into her so she will solve them because she has all the answers. And also, when I verbalized that I have a problem or I need help or I am stressed, the first reaction was, that is nothing, you are tough, it is nothing, you can get over it. And also, some people were throwing hurtful comments because they think I am tough and I can take it. And seeing this repeating itself in most of my relationships, it made me pause and think something is not right. And after thinking, I came to the conclusion that the reason I am having these problems is because of how I am positioning myself. If I don't want to be treated like this perfect person, then I need to change my actions and stop acting like I am perfect in my relationships. But still, this did have some benefits in some other areas in my life where people trusted me with opportunities and work that I wanted to take on because I showed them through my actions that I am trustworthy. And when I take on a responsibility and work, I give them good results. And the final example is if you are positioning yourself as an insecure person and the way you act around people back it up, people will start perceiving you that way and their treatment will reflect that. You will have some people staying away from you, and you will have some people having pity over you, and you will have some people taking advantage of that and make you more insecure to have a control over you. And the reason I am saying this is because if you are in a position where you are being disrespected constantly and ignored and being taken advantage of, instead of constantly crying and asking yourself, why am I being treated this way? Sit down and think about the image you have of yourself that you project to the outside world that is backed up by your actions, and it did build proof to others on how they're gonna treat you. Some people, they will see you are constantly looking down at yourself and you accept mistreatment, and that build this insecure person reputation and image about you in their head, and because of their poor manners they will treat you like trash because they're like, why will I respect her or him? They don't even respect themselves and they will not tell me anything, so I can do whatever I want and let me take advantage of them and play with them. And sadly, you cannot control 100% how other people will treat you, but you can control how you treat yourself and how you perceive yourself that will reflect on the outside world through your actions. And this kind of will make some people treat you the way you treat yourself. For example, if you start positioning yourself as someone who respects themselves and they do not allow people who will treat them poorly and get away with it, and your actions back it up, some people are going to be like, oh, I can't go and treat them badly because they see how you treat yourself and your actions back up your words. And this either will push them away from you, which is good for you because now you don't have to deal with disrespect, or they're gonna try to treat you good. And even you see that with brands. I don't know if you guys noticed how brands who position themselves as luxury and they have a great quality, you see people changing themselves to act like someone who owns a piece or a product from that brand, and even they make an effort to gain money to own it and they give it more value. However, with cheap brands like fast fashion brands, because people perceive it as cheap brand, they don't respect it and they just throw the clothes away fast because they don't value it. They perceive it as cheap, so they treat it that way. People will treat you the way they perceive you. The next point that I want to discuss is connected with the positioning thing. When you look at successful brands, they don't try to target everyone in their marketing campaigns because they know that trying to attract everyone makes you attract no one, because the message becomes very broad and doesn't resonate with anyone because it's all over the place and people can't trust the brand. And also, if brands go to the wrong target and they try to convince them to buy their products and use it, the message will fall into deaf ears and no one will care, and they will just waste money and time trying to convince them to see their worth and benefits because these people do not care about it at the first place. But if they take the same message and say it to their target audience that fits with the brand mission, people will buy the products because they can see the value it will bring to their lives. And from this, you can see that you trying to appeal to everyone and please everyone, you end up attracting no one who is actually and genuinely interested in you because you keep changing yourself each minute to fit a group, and from the outside you look like you are trying so hard to fit the group, and people cannot trust someone who keep changing themselves completely with each group they are in, and it is so off-putting to people. For example, there is this guy in my class who is so desperate to make everyone like him, especially girls, and he is trying to appeal to all of them. And this makes him less attractive to girls, and they don't want to talk to him because they can't trust someone who is trying to appeal to every girl. So if you are trying to appeal to everyone, you're just wasting your time, and there is a high chance you will just build shallow relationships out of it because you are in a game of pretending. Try to ask yourself, who are the people that I really want to be around, and what kind of values I want my relationships to be built around. And this will help you to not waste your time trying to convince someone who is not interested in you to see your worth, and you narrow down your choices. And I have been thinking about why, as human beings, we find it so off putting when people try to please everyone. And I think maybe it's because people can't tell if you are around them because you are genuinely interested in them, or because you just want to be around someone and you are using them to fill that void. And this makes them run away because they feel offended that you are doing that to them and you are lying about your intentions. They don't feel like they have a special place in the life of that person because they feel like the person will do anything to make people like them. And this creates a confusion in their head because they don't know what you stand by, and they don't know if what you said is true or false. However, if they are around someone who is picky about who they choose to be around and the people they allow in their life, if someone enters their life, the person can trust them because they know that they are around them because they like them and they genuinely want to build a relationship with them, and this makes people feel like they are special. And this is why the guy who is in my class, who is trying to appeal to all of these girls, is being ignored because none of these girls can trust him because they see the same treatment being given to another girls, and they see him as a playboy and a liar, and this pushes them to ignore him because they're like, he doesn't like me, he just wants a company to fill a void, and that's it. And there is a high chance that the things he told me are false. I hope this was helpful, and I really had a great time making this video because I had so much fun trying to make connection between marketing and what we can learn from it to understand more ourselves and our environment, and even like invite other people to think more about these things. And if you want me to make a second video, I will absolutely do it because I have other things that I want to discuss in a part 2 video. And also I would love to know your opinions. What are the things you agree with or you disagree with, and why, in a respectful manner, because I would love to hear your opinions.